The waves looked calm from the deck, but the sea was a liar. It was always a liar. Mara Kane knelt barefoot on cold steel, her wrists zip-tied behind her back, her ankles chained to a concrete block slick with algae. The ship's floodlights burned against the night fog, turning the air white and her breath into ghosts. One of the men behind her spat on the deck. "Orders say no body," he muttered. His accent was thick, Eastern Bloc, maybe Romanian. Not military, not disciplined, just another hired gun. The other man lit a cigarette, the ember flaring red against the black. "She'll be fish food before dawn." They didn't call her by name. That was deliberate. Stripping away identity made killing easier. Mara Kane had once been lieutenant commander in naval intelligence, the kind of officer whose record was sealed under layers of clearance most people didn't know existed. To these men, she was just cargo. For 48 hours they'd tried to break her. They'd asked about encryption keys, routes, personnel, anything tied to Operation Sable. When she gave them nothing, they'd escalated. Waterboarding. Stress positions. Sleep deprivation inside a steel container vibrating with engine noise. None of it worked. She'd trained for worse. When silence didn't bend, they decided silence should drown. One man crouched, grabbed her jaw, and forced her to look into the harsh glare. Blood streaked down from a cut above her eye, dried into the corner of her mouth. He twisted her face toward the light, examining. "She's clean," he said, standing. They didn't see the tiny seam behind her right knee, one careful stitch in her wetsuit liner hiding a sliver of ceramic. A blade invisible to scanners. The third man didn't speak at all. He just hauled the cinder block toward the edge. The scrape echoed like a countdown. Mara didn't fight. Couldn't, not yet. She kept her breathing shallow, her eyes half closed. Saving oxygen. Saving rage. The smoker exhaled a lazy trail toward the sea. "Bye-bye, American." He kicked the block. The chain yanked her forward, and gravity did the rest. Cold slammed into her like a wall. Salt burned her eyes, her throat, her wounds. The weight dragged her fast, twisting her body downward through the dark. 10 feet. 20. 30. Light vanished. She opened her eyes anyway. Bubbles roared past her face. Every instinct screamed to fight, but training screamed louder. Angle the body vertical. Don't waste breath. Her fingers moved behind her back, groping for the hidden seam. The tiny ridge of thread was there, she'd memorized the exact feel of it during every pre-mission check. She twisted, caught the handle, and began sawing the zip tie. Her lungs clenched. Pressure built behind her eyes. The cinder block kept pulling, a promise of silence below. Not yet, she told herself in her head. Not like this. Snap. The tie parted. She kicked hard, both heels striking the block. The chain tore at her ankles, slicing skin, but the momentum gave her a burst upward. Blood spiraled around her like ribbons of rust. The darkness thinned. Then light, faint and gray, started to return. Her fingers found the emergency float patch sewn under her vest seam. One tug, one hiss, compressed CO2 inflated the hidden bladder just enough to slow her descent. Mara broke the surface like a torpedo, gasping, coughing up saltwater and bile. The night sky looked unreal, stars sharp as glass shards. No ship in sight. Just endless black water. She treaded carefully, conserving motion. One eye barely opened. Her lip split when she breathed. No panic. Panic kills. She rotated slowly, scanning. There, on the far horizon, a faint red flicker. A gas flare from an oil rig, maybe 10 nautical miles away. South by southwest. The beacon she'd planted on the freighter's hull should have transmitted by now. If command picked it up, they'd be tracking her position within the hour. If not. She adjusted the float under her ribs, ripped a strip from her wetsuit's inner lining, and tied it above her wound to slow the bleeding. Then she whispered the mantra all SEAL divers learned in cold water drills. Pain is noise. Noise means you're alive. And she started swimming. The first half hour was steady, controlled strokes, slow breathing, mind locked on rhythm. She drifted with the current to save energy, every movement deliberate. Blood loss steady, hypothermia creeping in. She calculated the odds in her head like math on a blackboard, 4 hours before her body shut down, maybe 6 if adrenaline held. Still, she swam. Until the water changed. At first, just colder. Then different. A shadow sliding beneath her. Mara froze. Heart pounding but body still. The sea beneath her wasn't empty anymore. A shape glided past, wide fins, blunt nose, skin the color of moonlight. Oceanic white tip. 12 feet of ancient instinct. She didn't flinch. Didn't kick. Her instructor's voice echoed in memory. Stay vertical. Make eye contact. You're not prey unless you act like prey. The shark circled once, twice. She drew her knife, reversed her grip, and made herself look larger. It darted suddenly, brushing her leg, testing. Blood drifted. The second approach came faster, more direct. She pivoted hard, arm wide, leading its motion. When it lunged, she struck, blade straight into the gill slit. A flash of muscle, a violent surge, water exploding around her. Then silence. The shark veered off, its outline fading into the depths. Mara spit seawater and forced her breath steady. The flare still blinked on the horizon. She started swimming again. The horizon began to fade from black to bruised blue. Mara Kane had been treading water for almost 4 hours. Her muscles burned. Her jaw shook so violently she had to bite her tongue just to stop the tremors. The flare still blinked in the distance, a promise she refused to let die. Her skin had gone pale gray beneath the salt and blood. The float sleeve under her ribs was half deflated now, its hiss long faded. Every few minutes, she whispered to herself to stay awake. 3 strokes. Breathe. 3 strokes. Breathe. She wasn't sure whether she was counting time or sanity anymore. Then came the sound, so faint she thought it was her heartbeat at first. A low hum cutting through the wind. Rotors. She twisted, squinting through the morning glare. At first, only a speck against the growing light. Then the silhouette sharpened, twin engines, angled wings, a seahawk. Navy bird. Her breath hitched. She dug into her belt with trembling fingers. Her hands were swollen and blood-slick, but she still had the mirror clipped to a retractable cord. She aimed it at the sun, caught the light, and flashed. Flash. Pause. Flash. Flash. 3 seconds. Repeat. Again. Again. Inside the Seahawk cockpit, the sensor operator leaned forward. "Sir, glint off the water, 11 o'clock low." "Probably just wave scatter," the pilot muttered, adjusting trim. The operator frowned. "Too clean. It's rhythmic." The co-pilot scanned the instruments. Heat bloom, barely human temp, drifting off thermals. The pilot exhaled. Not a decoy. Decoys don't bleed. He banked hard left. Down below, Mara saw the chopper swing toward her. For the first time in 12 hours, her chest loosened. She kept flashing the mirror until her fingers refused to close. Then she let the cord rest against her chest, eyes half closed, whispering, "Almost there." The wind came before the sound, a blast of dry heat that slapped her across the face. Rotor wash churned the sea into froth. She forced her head up. The Seahawk hovered overhead, nose tilted, side door open. A dark figure dove from the rail, a rescue diver in black fins. Another followed. Hands grabbed her a moment later, firm, sure, familiar. U.S. Navy, someone shouted over the noise. You're safe. She blinked through salt and light, lips cracked. Tracked vessel, she rasped. The diver froze mid-lift. Name? Mara Kane. He glanced at the beacon receiver clipped to his vest, still pinging faintly. Copy that. Beacon's real. Then the world tilted. The ocean fell away beneath her as the sling rose. Wind. Noise. The metallic roar of salvation. Inside the Seahawk, everything moved fast. BP's tanking, a medic barked. 82/43. She's freezing from the inside out. Get heat packs. Saline 4. Move. Mara felt pressure on her chest, a thermal blanket, a gloved hand checking her pulse. Voices blurred together. Ma'am, stay with me. What's your name? She turned her head, voice barely a whisper. Lieutenant, no. Just Mara Kane. The medic leaned closer. We're taking you home, okay? Don't close your eyes. Her lips trembled. Don't, turn back. Excuse me? She raised a shaking hand toward the east. Freighter, 2 hours out. Weapons, hidden manifest. The cabin went silent. The pilot's voice cut through the comms. Say again. Mara swallowed hard, blood crusting at the corner of her mouth. Beacons on the port side hull. I tagged it before they threw me overboard. You'll find them heading for Puntland. The sensor operator swiveled his tablet, pulling up a weak ping. Sir, she's right, signal matches telemetry. Then that's our target, the crew chief said. Command will want eyes on it now. The medic pressed another heat pack against her throat. She's septic. She needs evac now. Mara caught his wrist. Her eyes were glassy but steady. Turn the bird, she whispered. Now. The crew chief hesitated, then keyed his mic, pilot, reroute east. Authorization, field intel relay. The Seahawk banked sharply, slicing over the waves. Inside, the medics fought to keep her conscious. She reached for one of them again. Give me a pen. He frowned. You should rest. Pen, she repeated. He handed it over. She scrawled coordinates across the back of her own hand, numbers shaking but legible. Rendezvous point, she murmured. Before I forget. For the next hour, the Seahawk tore across the sky, chasing the weak beacon flickering across the map. Mara drifted in and out of awareness, heat packs pressed to her ribs, for line feeding warmth back into her veins. She could hear the medic muttering every few seconds. Keep her flat, don't let her crash, come on, stay with us. But Mara's mind was already ahead of them, running the numbers, visualizing the freighter's decks, the corridors, the places she'd been held. She saw every corner in perfect recall, like the trauma had carved it into her memory. When the pilot's voice came over comms again, she forced her eyes open. 2 hours to intercept. Command says hold pattern until authorization. Tell them authorization's in my blood, she whispered. The medic huffed a broken laugh. That's not how it works, Lieutenant. She looked at him, eyes pale and fierce despite exhaustion. Then keep me alive until it does. The USS Colorado surfaced like a shadow exhaling under the moon. No lights. No sound. Just a sleek black outline slicing through silver water. The Seahawk circled once overhead before descending. Rotor wash rippled the surface as the stretcher line lowered, its cable vibrating in the night air. Mara Kane hung suspended for a moment, half ghost, half soldier, before the SEALs caught her and pulled her aboard. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Two men in black dry suits guided her below deck through a narrow hatch, down a metal ladder slick with condensation. The air grew warmer, denser, humming with life and power. The control room glowed dim green, every console alive with quiet precision. A junior officer handed her a towel and a packet of electrolyte paste. She tore it open with her teeth and swallowed. No hesitation. "Commander Kane," the XO began, "we were briefed in transit. You brought company." "Freighters still eastbound," she rasped, tapping the tablet screen on the planning table. "Course shifted 3 degrees west, still heading toward Puntland." Someone tipped them off. The SEAL team leader stepped forward. He was built like granite, eyes sharp but calm. "Commander Rafe Morgan, Task Unit 24.5. 6 men, 2 SDVs ready to launch. What do you need?" She met his gaze without flinching. "Stealth insertion. 1.5 nautical. East approach. They'll expect boarding from starboard if they spot us." I planted the beacon. "I know their deck layout. You'll need me topside." Morgan frowned. "You're barely standing. Then you'd better move fast before I can't." A medic nearby adjusted her 4-line but didn't argue. She was pale, shaking slightly, but her eyes burned steady, the kind of focus born from vengeance, not adrenaline. A holographic overlay flickered above the table, a 3D schematic of the freighter's hull, containers stacked in geometric precision. A single red dot blinked beneath the waterline, her beacon. "They're using the ship to smuggle American pattern weapons," she said. "Crates with serials scraped off. Once they reach port, the cargo disappears into the black market." Morgan folded his arms. "How long until landfall?" 90 minutes, she replied. "After that, it's ghosts and excuses." He studied her face. "You counted minutes while they tortured you?" "I counted everything." The medic's voice was low. "She shouldn't even be conscious." "Good thing consciousness isn't required," Mara said. "Just purpose." Morgan smirked despite himself. "All right, Lieutenant Commander. You ride with us. But if you pass out mid-op, I'm not carrying you." She smiled weakly. "You won't have to." The launch. The Colorado's dorsal hatch yawned open, spilling cold moonlight into the water. 2 SDVs, miniature subs sleek as knives, eased out into the dark, their electric motors silent. Inside the first, Mara sat pressed between 2 SEALs, her knees drawn to her chest, mask fogging slightly with each breath. 60 meters to intercept, Rafe's voice came over comms, calm as a heartbeat. "No sonar pings. Freighters running blind." Mara keyed her mic, "Copy. Portside intake vents midline, lead to ballast chambers. They were unlocked last I saw." "Roger that," he said. Stacking left. The SDVs rose toward the looming shadow of the freighter, its hull a dark wall blotting out starlight. The beacon pulse glowed faintly beneath the plating, her mark. Her proof. Rafe gave the hand signal. 4 SEALs detached, disappearing into the black like fragments of the ocean itself. Mara followed slower. Her muscles screamed, but she moved anyway. The cold bit deep, burning through what little warmth the sub had given her. She found the vent grill, fingers brushing over corroded bolts. Still loose. Still unchained. She pried it open. Water rushed in. She slipped through the narrow duct, scraping elbows and knees until she emerged into the ballast cavity, dead quiet except for her own breath. The SEALs regrouped around her, eyes gleaming behind mirrored masks. They moved upward through maintenance shafts slick with condensation and rust, guided only by hand signals and instinct. When they reached the inner hatch, she stopped, listened, and mouthed the count. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. She lifted the latch. Metal sighed. Heat and vibration rolled over them from the engine room. Diesel hum. Chain rattle. No human voices, not yet. Rafe gestured. 2 seals swept the corners. Silence held. 2 guards, she whispered. They sleep between rotations, through that bulkhead. If they wake, they'll trigger the alarm. Noted, he murmured. They advanced, silent, surgical. Past fake medical crates, past grain sacks concealing munitions. The air smelled of oil, sweat, and iron. Every corner she passed was familiar. Every bolt. Every echo. Each step reclaimed something they'd taken from her. Finally, they reached the stairwell leading to the main deck. Rafe raised his hand. 30 minutes to landfall. Mara went first. She didn't move fast. She moved with purpose, the kind that comes from knowing you're walking into the same place you died once already. At the top, she paused against the steel bulkhead, her fingers brushing the cold surface. Vulture 6 in position, she whispered into comms. Request permission to breach. Rafe's voice came back steady. Permission granted. And for the first time since she hit the water, Mara Kane allowed herself to smile. The hunted was about to become the storm. The sea was calm above, but the deck of the Rovina Star trembled under its own engines. Wind cut across the steel in sharp gusts that smelled of salt, oil, and rusted blood. Mara Kane pressed herself against the bulkhead beside the main deck hatch. Her pulse had steadied, slow, deliberate. Every nerve lined up with the rhythm of the ship. Rafe's voice crackled softly in her ear. Alpha stacked. Bravo holding portside. Your call, 6. She took a single breath. 1 heartbeat for them. 1 heartbeat for me. Then she tapped her mic twice. The door blew inward. A flash of muffled light. 2 short bursts from suppressed rifles. The first guard dropped before he even turned. The second barely drew breath before Rafe's man swept his legs out and silenced him with a chokehold. The ship didn't even echo. Only the waves noticed. Mara stepped through the doorway, rifle tight to her shoulder, her boots whispering over metal. Her wounded leg throbbed with each step, but she refused to limp. The pain meant she was still moving. Still winning. They advanced through the corridors like a tide, precise, controlled, relentless. Storage crates labeled humanitarian aid lined both walls. She sliced one open with her blade. Inside lay rows of black market rifles sealed in plastic grease. Confirmed contraband, she said quietly. Keep cataloging. Copy, came Rafe's reply. Bridge in sight. They climbed the stairwell, every clang of metal wrapped in the howl of the wind. The ship tilted slightly under the swell, throwing sprays of seawater through cracked portholes. Somewhere above, a door slammed, someone shouted in a foreign tongue, confusion, not command. Mara reached the bridge door and froze. She could hear 2 men inside. One pacing. One seated. Her stomach twisted, she knew that voice. The smoker. The one who'd said she'd be crab meat by dawn. She flicked the safety off. Rafe caught her arm. You sure? She didn't look at him. Positive. He gave a curt nod and moved aside. Mara pushed the door open with her boot. Inside, the man turned, same slick hair, same scar along his cheek, but the arrogance melted the instant he saw her. For a heartbeat, he looked like someone seeing a ghost climb out of the deep. You, he stammered. No. You drowned. She didn't answer. She just leveled the rifle at his chest. Hands where I can see them. He hesitated, eyes darting to the console, probably a panic alarm, maybe a detonator. Don't, she warned. But arrogance dies slow. His hand twitched toward the switch. Mara moved faster, a step, a twist, a boot slammed down on his wrist. The crack was audible even over the wind. He screamed. She pressed the muzzle against his chest, close enough to feel his heartbeat through the barrel. "I told you not to move." He froze. The smell of burnt diesel filled the cabin. Rafe and 2 SEALs burst through behind her, weapons sweeping the corners. Bridge secured, Rafe called into comms. Primary target in custody. Mara never took her eyes off the man. "You remember what you said before you threw me overboard?" she asked quietly. He swallowed hard. I was following orders." "Then remember this." She stepped back and zip-tied his wrists with the same motion he'd used on her days ago. Plastic bit into his skin. Poetic symmetry. Rafe leaned toward her. "Command wants the manifest scanned before we pull." Mara nodded. "He'll help with that." She shoved the prisoner into a chair, forcing him to face the terminal. "Every crate. Every serial. You log it, or I start with your fingers." He began typing. Hands shaking so hard the keys rattled. Outside, dawn clawed up the horizon, a bruised red bleeding into the sky. The SEALs moved through the decks, bagging evidence, zip-tying contractors, securing the helipad for extraction. The freighter's engines coughed once, then died. Rafe returned to the bridge, helmet under one arm. "All clear. Cargo verified. Manifest uploaded." He paused, studying her. "What's the call?" Mara looked out the window. The sea stretched endless and clean. Somewhere below that same water waited the cinder block they'd chained her to. "Set autopilot for home," she said quietly. "They tried to erase me here. Let the ship carry my name back." Rafe gave a slow nod. "Copy that." He signaled to the team. "All units, exfil in 10. Mara stood at the railing as the sun burned higher, washing color across the deck. The wind tangled her hair, dried salt streaks on her face. She didn't smile, not exactly. But her eyes softened, like the storm inside her had finally found shore.